then the not God model of reality, its ultimacy and temporal states, is unfalsifiable as well. Right?
From an
So,
empirical standpoint, then, or
yeah. So when these idiots like Neil, the 604 atheist, starts talking about, well, your God isn't falsifiable, they're just ignorantly repeating stuff that they've heard from other atheists that they think, is an effective anti-apologetic rhetoric, but it's not, because there are things that, like for example, how would you falsify the laws of logic? Are the laws of logic in principle falsifiable?
You can't falsify transcendental absolutes, right?
Yeah, of course. A transcendental, something that's ultimately necessary for all non-absolutes or ultimates, right? It can't be falsifiable because it's the grounds of everything, including falsifiability.
is this kind of like Thomism?
No.
So falsifiability is only applied to contingent states.
What we're talking about, yeah, that's a good point. Thomism is a Catholic line of apologetic, where they start with logic from the Greek world, and then they reason out. They talk about a prime mover, things like that. The falsification criterion is a criterion that sophist atheists throw at unsuspecting and uneducated Christians to bamboozle them into saying, well, you can't say anything meaningful for God because God's not falsifiable. But
Well,
you
I
see,
can't help but see the parallels between Thomism when they're saying like a first mover argument. It has to be like the ultimate.
well, there's a difference between that which is ultimate and a first mover. You could have a first mover that wasn't ultimate.
I have a question for everyone on this soul subject.
You're kind of interrupted.
I know, but I'm a regular. I just want to talk for a second. Is there things of nature that are imperative or unavoidable? Is nature inherent? The things of nature, the animal kingdom, are they inherent? And if they're
No, they're contingent.
Inherent in what?
Inherent in that they come out of a charge and the void that like mothers protect their children, fathers protect their children.
Yeah, dude, you're making no sense whatsoever.
I'm just on another level.
Well, I think the problem with he's starting from a point at which his presuppositions are already they're not even being discussed. They're already there, and he's like kind of starting.
Well, I'm just jumping in because you're talking about God. You're talking about God and everything.
Yeah, but
he's just on another level, man.
No, it's like a real broad term. What are you saying? Is nature inherent? Like in what context? What do you mean?
Well, talk about what you were talking about before, about the nature of God or whatever. Soliphistic, atheistic, solifist and atheist and all these big words.
I think your thing is bugged out, Chris. Never able to join.
Bonsoir. Invited you again.
Oh, never mind.
Time to make a nice cup of black tea. I like black tea after a meal and green tea when I wake up. So, Jerry, did you win today? Jerry, hello? Tilt? I didn't realize I was on push to talk.
You were talking the whole time?
Yes, I was. Tilt? I was just saying some vacuous things. I like black tea after I eat, green tea when I wake up. Then I asked you, did you win today?
Made it to day 2 with like 65k, which is like 17 big blinds.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Not really.
What's the minimum number of big blinds that you need in order to show up for day 2?
I'd say 25 and you're comfortable.
So you're not going to show up tomorrow?
No, of course I'm showing up.
Yeah, I said, what's the minimum? Yeah, so what's the minimum for
I'm
your
showing
show?
up regardless, I think.
What?
Like one big line, I'm showing up for that.
Oh, okay. What about half a big blind?
Yeah, I'm showing up.
What about 10% of a big blind?
I'm showing up.
Alright.
I would just show up and just play cash games. So might as well go anyways. It's a 1K.
Yeah, I don't think Worm would show up for like 3 big blinds.
3 big lines. I mean, it's kind of dumb, but I just like free rolls too much. So.
Yeah, I don't think Worm shows up for 6 big blinds.
Really?
Yeah.
He's like in the main event. In day 2, he has 6 big lines.
Yeah, I think Worm just throws everything out at that point.
Oh wow, that's pretty insane.
I think even 9 big blinds, to be honest with you.
No, that's impossible. 9 big blinds too much, man.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like I've seen people with 9 big blinds just turn their stack into like
300 big blinds.
5x average. Yeah.
I wonder what's the sickest comeback in MTT history. I mean, Worm had a pretty sick one in his Sunday mill. Fart. Okay,
Ban a hero.
how are we doing?
Banning
this?
Armadon
Harmadon?
and Shell Shock. Yeah, I came back from 4 big blinds twice in my final table in the Sunday mill to win it.
That might be one of the greatest.
That might be the GOAT.
Choose wisely.
Twice, not just once.
Oh, they don't.
Devourer.
Don't man Andro. I'm gonna take it.
Preserver. Parasite. Andromeda.
Well, I'm already liking Sandwraith just for the fact that, yeah, I think you're gonna have to pick because nobody is picking.
Okay, Paul.
Polywog Priest.
Legionnaire. Blade Rider.
Well, Sandwraith hard counter is Parasite and Plague Rider.
I mean, they have 2 junglers.
Yeah. Legionnaire is kind of okay versus you. Zephyr is, let's say, like, wash.
I feel like I can't hook any of these guys.
Yeah,
I
like,
think we need more, like, AoE damage.
there you go, Raw.
Just Raw does that.
Okay, Worm, so what we're gonna do is you buy Iron Shield right off the bat, and I'll buy a regen for you.
Raw.
And then you rush Hatchet. It's gonna be a Suicide Plague
I'm gonna
Rider.
go Hatchet first.
No, you go
I'm
Iron
gonna
Shield
get a
first.
Hatchet.
Am I just going mid?
I don't know who's mid. Raw mid? Poly mid?
Phoenix.
I can go mid.
They have a LOL lineup.
Yeah, their lineup is ridiculous. What the heck is that? They just have offlaners and junglers. That's all they have. That is garbage.
They have 3 junglers, 2 offlaners.
And Sandwraith counters 3 other champions. Yeah. So I got regen for you.
It's space.
Galaxy is endless, as well as time.
Oh, where's my word? Tilt. Okay, whatever. Here. I forgot to buy a word, so.
Game's lost.
Listen.
It's okay. I mean, they don't have a threatening lane no matter what they send, so doesn't you don't really need a word.
I wander.
Did I miss anything in the grind today?
No.
Nothing?
There's a parasite here.
The galaxy is endless,
who has a ward on him. Interesting.
Let's go here.
Fucking crush, man!
Yo, Polly, do you copy?
He does not copy.
Okay, play
I'm
Grinder
gonna
Parasite.
slow this kid.
No, don't.
Why?
You don't want to waste your mana on your Q as Sandwraith. You don't have a lot of mana. I mean, like, unless like I stun him, then you can do that, but... Okay, he's just waiting for lane to pull back. No problem, no problem. There he is. So you can slow him now if you want.
Oh.
Slow him, slow him.
Nice, your ass. Zephyr's in the jungle.
You got it.
Just for the very first time.
Oh, his game's over.
Yep. That was really dumb of him to get.
Listen to the voice of the Father Sky. Ascender.
I'm gonna go pull.
Should I build a refreshing ornament or a blood chalice?
Style, but like I like them.
Bro, you should have sheeped him, because I can go in on him. Oh, we almost got him.
Dude, oh fuck.
What
I
happened?
got outplayed. Zephyr's such a stupid man. Oh my god.
Time to push this, I guess.
Oh, let's cut this guy off. Come.
Yeah, push it.
Oh. He knows.
I don't know what the fuck that was.
Yo, Zephyr
Oh,
missing.
it's regen, bro. Get back to lane. What a cunt.
Gaze too long into the burning star.
Defend your buildings, damn it!
Did you just spell again? So your Dark Catapult doesn't die?
Not yet.
The Hellborn have destroyed a Legion Tower.
As you wish. Yes. Floating along. The galaxy is endless, as well as time.
Can I go mock? I'm like way ahead.
Sure.
Zephyr's going bot, I think. You can just dive.
Vicky?
What the?
Hush. Listen. Is a far sky.
Enemy hero missing from bottom.
You got a catapult here.
Nice, Polly. Getting it done without me, bro.
Defend your building, damn it! The Hellborn have destroyed a Legion tower.
Hush. Listen to the voice of
Okay, Jerry, I'm gonna rotate
The
mid.
Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Oh, he has a helm with a Black Legion already.
Oh, bro, you got a fucking hex stat, dog.
warp speed.
Just got destroyed mid.
Okay.
He was really good.
Okay. Well, let me just push this real quick and do something.
Finally.
Let's push this and go kill Zephyr top. Let's run top. Let's kill this moron, Jerry.
To a dying star. And madness will die.
Oh, this guy might be dead.
Floating along.
There he is, Jerry.
Oh shit, Zephyr, dude.
Yeah, let's kill him.
Oh, Parasite right here?
Our parasite. This is bad.
I'm coming. Coming.
Okay. Oh, Jerry.
Yeah. Where did Zephyr go?
We had to target the same guy. There, I can swap him. I'm running towards him.
Zephyr.
Yeah, I'm running to him.
Go.
I'm just gonna swap him. He has a helm. Like, I don't know if we should go for it.
Defend your buildings, damn it!
I'm just gonna go bottom. Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay, Lego's coming here. Can we fight?
Push.
As you wish.
I'll kill this kid.
Defend your buildings, damn it!
The juice is loose.
So many illusions.
The Hellborn have destroyed a Legion tower.
I'm Grinex. Yeah.
Defend your buildings, damn it!
I wonder.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn
What's
tower.
going on? Jesus. Okay, I'm backing. They're all here.
As well as time.
Perfect.
Yo, how is Zephyr so fucking farmed?
I fucked up mid. I fucked up mid.
As well as time. With my name.
Whoopsie doodle!
Yikes.
Can we just find him somehow? Dude, he might be farming. Come. Okay. There he is.
Oh. Get him.
Okay, good.
Nice.
Very good.
Nice. Lijo.
I'm out of mana. I'm out of here. I'm out of
I'm
mana.
dead. I hate Grenix, officially.
I wonder.
I have an ancient stack here. I don't know if you can do it.
Defend your buildings, damn it!
Yeah, let's go for Parasite. Oh yeah, come on. What?
No,
That's so ridiculous. It's a glitch. I don't know if you saw what happened. Yeah. Did you place a word there?
Illusion.
No, don't. Dude, he's just building pure tank. You have to ignore him. Interesting. I'm gonna try to swap him. They're probably looking for me.
I need assistance, boy.
Yeah, can't really fight that. Nice hook. Take tower.
Defend your buildings, damn it! The Hellborn have destroyed a Legion tower.
How do you have so many levels? Leech is level 12, Zephyr's level 13.
Defend your buildings, damn it! The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Wow. You have to kill Plague Rider. Yeah, just look at Zephyr's items. We cannot kill him.
Warp speed. The galaxy is endless, as well as time. Let's see if you can flee this time.
Oh.
Gaze too long into a dying star, and madness will take you.
What should I build after Mock?
I mean, probably like a Geos. Stacking this.
Care, there's a lot of people coming.
Any chance we can kill them in our jungle? They're all running up here.
We got 5. If Polly came.
I got dust.
Yes.
You could kill top. They don't have Zephyr.
Yeah, we should kill top. Just we cannot fight Zephyr. All right, I'll go on. If we all go on Zephyr right now.
Damn, he's fast as fuck.
Whoopsie doodle!
This is such a joke. Keep going, keep going. Dude, it's unreal.
Dude, how...
Okay, Devo's got him, Devo's got him.
Defend your buildings, damn it!
Thank God.
Yeah, I got him! Oh, yeah!
Good job, Jerry.
Thank God for Gerald. Perfect. That's exactly what we needed.
Yo, Polly.
Warp speed. On into a dying star, and madness will take you.
Go. Get him,
Yes.
get him. Yeah, we just gotta stay together, and I will not carry, but yeah.
Warp You are but
I need to go back.
in the eyes of stars.
I need a good item.
Defend your buildings, damn
So I
it!
like don't really like skipping the small items.
Maybe Arclight Crown.
No, you already have a ton of attack speed.
Yes.
Okay, so what should I build?
I mean, something that benefits from attack speed. I guess Nullfire Blade's pretty good.
But I don't have attack speed.
Yeah, you do. You're passive.
Yeah, but I could use more.
No, I mean, you don't want to double down. You want to exploit your strengths. So
A Basher.
Bash is pretty good, but Nullfire, since you're gonna be hitting Zephyr like a million times, right? Legion, you're all gonna be hitting them a million times.
Yo,
Plus your
let's play
illusions.
Zephyr again.
He's in their jungle.
Let's go get him. No?
Yeah, Basher and Nullfire. Can we go on Grenix?
Help me!
Let's go on Grenix, go on Grenix. They always back at the right moment. You can bait this. Yeah, we can't go top. Top is too dangerous. If Saturday has ulti, we can do this.
Shit.
Shelly says Diffusal is good, BKB Wingbow also good. Diffusal 3, very nice slow for your hero that likes to catch, and your W is great for mana drain. Yeah, exactly.
What's he doing, oh?
Yo, careful, Andro. What the fuck are you doing?
It's my illusion.
Oh, big hook.
I don't know, it's not good. Yeah, my ulti creates an illusion now, raw.
I did not know that. The only way we win is team fights.
Warp speed.
Yeah. I'm gonna swap this kid.
Yep. Just keep doing that, guys. Oh, get Zephyr. 5v1.
Yeah, this kid's dead. See a trash can. We got Grenix. Oh baby, nice. Come on, Frost Slave.
Second tower.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Legion's gonna try to jump us, but
Okay.
well, he could potentially kill Sandwraith here. He could definitely kill Sandwraith here.
Don't worry about it.
Well, what do you guys think? Back?
No. I can swap in 5 seconds. I don't have mana for stun though. Yeah, it's not worth it. Kill the Plague Rider.
Let's get back. Go Plague. Go.
Yeah, I'm going for Plague.
Oh, he's so
Oh.
good. Good job, guys. Kong?
What you gonna do about it?
Oh, nice. Kong?
I think Kong is decent,
I
yeah.
think I can tank it. Oh my god, I almost died.
I'm gonna get some mana. Be right back.
So good job, team. What's the plan?
Floating along.
I bet you Zephyr's still farming their jungle. We should probably
ward and try to gank again. I bought one, guys. I bought one.
May I help you, Earth creature? Condor has been slain.
Let's move and gank, no?
This playground might be dead.
Oh.
Yeah, he's out of range.
Hey. Grenade?
Grenex? Yeah, Grenex. Go, go, go.
Good job. Should we push bottom?
Should figure out what items should go.
You get a sheep.
Nah, I'm too broke for that. I'm considering like a Abyssal Skull or something.
Yeah, they're all top. Let's get tower. Oh, I can
Yeah.
you ult Polly? Go, go, go.
Save it, no.
No, use it. Use it for sure.
You could have used it for T3.
There's no way we get T3 here, right?
Oh yeah, watch.
Defend your buildings, damn it!
See, you could have ulted T3 here.
Just make them TP back.
Yeah.
I think Legion are TP back.
This is a bad fight.
Yo, Lego TP back. We can get out. We can get out.
Defend your
Lego's gonna jump you.
Yeah, I think we should get back.
No.
Okay, he didn't see you. Good.
Oh, Lego's over here. Oh shit, I'm alone.
Just get out. Now they're all bottom. It's perfect. Yo. No.
Yes.
He placed the word up here though. You good?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
good.
might die, you guys.
You have your ulti? You have your ulti? Tell me now.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you're good.
I wonder.
Well, now we can push T3 with ult when he gets up. Should we just do that? We need to stay together.
Lego's coming top. Very scary.
Let's go. Let's go. He's alone. Can you get this guy? Oh, you missed.
It's too fast.
Stick around middle.
3 people in our jungle.
Three people what? I almost have barb.
Okay, well, they don't have Grenex. We can fight here.
Yo, Polly, you should sneak bottom. I'm gonna push this.
Okay, they use everything.
Polly?
He's middle with us.
Alright, I'm coming back to you guys.
Yeah, they're backing. Oh, they're not. No, they're not.
Let's push top, maybe?
Take Ancients for him. Careful, Polly. Where did they ward? I don't get it.
Listen to the voice of Father Sky.
You guys are way too deep. Like, this Polly is so bad.
You are but mote in the eyes of stars. I wonder.
I can swap him. Swapping him now. Eat him. What? That's so lucky. Okay.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Just get him. Oh my god, that was not worth it. Keep sending your illusions to lane with the mock. So you farm like 2 places at once. Or even send it to like a easy camp or something. Your illusions can handle it. Yeah, and Shelly says, don't forget to upgrade your diffusal as you run out of charges or whatever.
How do you upgrade it?
Just buy level 2, level 3. Dude, this Polly's dead again? Oh my god.
Choo-choo, motherfucker!
That's not the thing.
Warp speed.
Zephyr's BKB now. He's unkillable.
Floating along.
Unless we could kill him as 5 and push with Polly's ult or get Rax. You guys, let's go suicide bottom push.
That's just this guy is so annoying, but we can't kill him.
Yes, we can.
Okay, now we can kill him. Now, okay, yeah. See, like, how they always back like that? They must have words.
Yeah, fuck it, just put.
Okay, Congo's up.
Defend your building, damn it!
Okay, back up.
Stop targeting Zephyr, guys. We're way later game than they are. We should take our Kongor.
Yeah, we need wards. I'll buy one.
Maybe we could take a team fight. They don't have Zephyr.
Like, they're always split up, but it's just no opportunities.
Well, we could go on Zephyr. I mean,
Para. I'm swapping play. I'm swapping him. Okay, we can probably conquer. Can we conquer? Need more people.
Ultimate Warrior, say my name. What you gonna do about it?
Yes.
I think your Nullfire can like one-shot Parasite's creeps. Shall we Kong? Or maybe kill the Zephyr?
Yes.
I've got to swap and stun.
Get in! Get in! Get in!
He gets TP in here.
Get in!
What's he doing, oh?
No, I'm trapped in your... Dude, you...
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That hero's so stupid. I'm gonna stop playing Gare.
Stop.
Yeah. Of course, it's perfect timing.
Just stay focused. You never know. We could still win. He could like have to take a shit or something.
Lego's gonna jump.
Yo, Paulie, come with me.
I gotta get out of here.
Defend your building, damn it!
We got 2. Okay, that was pretty good.
Oops.
I think I should build heart. I'm pretty like squishy.
Let's finish this call.
Yeah, heart's good. Heart and Mock is a pretty good combo.
Finish con.
No, not Zephyr, dude. No, we can't kill him, guys. We cannot kill him. Oh, you might have just killed all of us.
This is not
Oh my
good.
God, why would you bait him here?
Well,
No way, dude.
we should definitely contest this, though.
Just kill Kong, just kill Kong. This is such a joke. Dude, you got Kongor. Get out.
Or something? No, we didn't get Congar. He did.
Tabarnak.
God, Polly, why, man? Oh my God, he brought.
Buildings, damn it!
C'était très mongol, ça.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
I have buyback. Should I buy back? Guess so. No, we don't even have rock. Sets of racks.
Destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Dude, Polly just.
Oh, Jerry.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Oh my God, we're losing 2 racks.
2 and 11. Yeah, 2 and 11 Polly.
Rock, come help. I'll buy back. Oh no, I can't.
Just let him have racks.
What are you gonna fucking do?
Yeah, the game is over.
Yeah, let's see.
Barracks has been destroyed. Defend your buildings, damn it! Barracks has been
No,
destroyed.
it's still winnable.
A Hellborn barracks has been destroyed.
What's he doing, oh?
Oh, cue that mofo, cue him.
Oh God.
Yeah. They were so undeserving of that. Yeah, I got Great next year.
Oh shit, there's a Lego here.
If you want to bait him, I mean, we can kill him. Yeah, you should bait him. We're baiting Lego. Don't show up.
Don't show up, don't show up.
Yeah, I'm stopping, I'm stopping.
We go on this,
You can solo kill him. He's all on you. Oh, Parasite's coming now. Okay, I should get out before Parasite gets here.
What you gonna do about it? Now then.
Jesus.
I can swap him maybe. Swapping him.
I buy it back.
Oh, this is nice. Man, they're such awful players. How did we lose this?
What do you mean such awful players? We just
No, the other team is awful.
Well, Polywog is 2-11.
Yes.
I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Let's take their Congo.
Oh, take their Congo. You on a death mission, dude? We should CC.
Yeah, we have time. Go for it. Our bottom's gonna get wrecked though.
We'll do it quick.
Yo, we have 2 Raxes down. This is fucking more over.
Light goes right. Light goes right there.
Doesn't matter. He doesn't see. Okay, I have to defend base. I can try to swap. Swapping Grenix.
kill them all. Oh, that's 2 down. Holy shit! Let's push.
Yeah.
Push, push.
Can you defend base, Polly? While I go join them and push? Oh, can we kill this? He's all alone. Get Lego. You got swap in 7 seconds. Swap in 3 seconds if I see him. You know, I'm baiting
back, we need to defend.
Polly defend. Polly defend. We push middle. Punch dead. Is your ulti up, Raw? No. Send your illusions. Tank that.
They're pushing.
Someone. I think someone bought back. Can we cut off Parasite? I'm gonna catch him. This game is so broken. I'm gonna build demonic or something.
As you wish. Warp speed. As months time.
I wanna swap him. Swap him, swap him. Oh, I swapped the wrong person. Tilt, tilt!
What you gonna do about it? Absolutely spiffy.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower. A Hellborn barracks has been destroyed. A Hellborn barracks has been destroyed.
I gave the Sand Wraith.
Defend your building.
I did not play very well,
Destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Well, I played.
but I'll just give it to myself. They don't deserve that. Well, they don't deserve that victory.
If you're playing another, Shelly says he's in.
No. I mean, I wish, but there's hard some thing. I would like to, but I'm fucking tired.
For what it's worth, new gen Sandway doesn't build Mach anymore. Build his Iron Shield into Thunderclaw, Geos, Fusel 3, Ags Refresher.
G.
Man, that's sad. That was so undeserved.
Yeah, that Poly. Jesus Christ. The other team was really bad, so it's kind of annoying.
This Shelly, why didn't he join us the first game?
Well, what item could we have built to better deal with that stupid? Like, I feel like Zephyr is hard to deal with.
I was under farm. I mean, I'm still learning to play Sandwraith. I gotta learn to like micro the illusions. I don't know how to do that very well.
Well, like you farm a lane, then send your illusions to the jungle.
No, but I mean actually controlling them. Like when you W and like some people are so fast.
Okay, you put them to a hotkey. Let's say 2.
But how do you do that?
You just pick both of them, control 2, and then whenever you want to, choose them, just press
2 and then send them.
Control 2, yeah. Well, W2, and then you press 2 to select them, and then just send them in the jungle. Yeah. What are Zephyr spells? I mean, like, it's like every game we play.
Got an evasion, so that like Savage Mace is very good versus him.
Yeah, like why is he like always so fast and so?
And he eats his Zephyrs to heal, and I think it gives him movement speed.
Yeah, it's just like he was so fast that game. What items did he have?
I think he had fire. He had a firebrand.
Yeah, Dawnbringer, Mach, and Ghost Marchers. Oh, yeah, I think also like Sandwraiths, well in Dota at least, they build Ghost Marchers instead of Steam Boots, since you already have attack speed. Sand Scepter is also good versus Zephyr. Does it disable his passive?
Okay, Nation. The Savage, do you mean the Savage Mace? On the evasion?
Well, of course that works. Like Shelly said, Sand Scepter is good against Zephyr.
How does Shelly know all these things? Or purport to know
Shelly is on top of everything.
Yeah, he's on top of the Galfon challenge. He knows when your shark scope's unblocked.
Yep.
He knows when the the Pope's dead. It's fucking Mulgun. So what did I miss in Poker World today?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, how was the action? Must have been good. It's Saturday.
No, it's pretty dead.
Bang, no, Chris. Alright.
It was dead. What do I tell you?
What about on Winner?
Virtual showed up a few times. How many games did I get today?
Starting to think facial recognition would be nice on all websites. That way, like, the idiot who's creating new accounts on Winner, like virtual and stuff, banned once, banned for life.